Hi everybody, welcome back. I was wondering who's ready for a story? And I had a question about Dear Woman, and it came up yesterday, so I thought maybe I would just tell what happened to me when I was little. And when I was around 6, 7 years old, my dad had to go to Washington to present something for the state of Minnesota because he worked in the government offices. And he decided to take us along so we could visit with his sister in Maryland, and all kinds of crazy stuff happened there. However, one of the days we went hiking, and it was really crazy because first I look over and I see this crazy staircase, and it looks like it came straight out of somewhere between a YMCA staircase to something you might find in one of the national parks. And they had the bars, and it kind of went back, and then it went up, and then it kind of went up, and then there was just like something that you could stand on, a little platform at the top, and I just wanted to go up those stairs so bad. It was just like an ache inside of me, and God telepathically said, don't go up there, don't even look at it. So I'm like, okay. So I walk past the stairs, and we're going down the path, and then like all of a sudden I see this weird looking black creature that's kind of like a bat thing, and it's got wings, and it looks kind of demonic and kind of like a horse thing. And God said, well, that's the Jersey Devil, ignore him too. So I did, and we walked past, and he was kind of sniffing the air. And then he was shaking his head like he's really frustrated that I kept walking. And then all of a sudden, this crazy looking, crazy beautiful looking young woman starts coming towards us. And I got the feeling that it was a projection because her eyes were just a little bit too green, but she looked like a indigenous Barbie doll. She had 2 braids going down, and she had this kind of innocence, and just this anxious, beautiful energy of, youth and beauty. And she was cloaked in this, like, the softest looking robe made of doe leather, and she's just waltzing over, moving her hips from side to side, and she's going straight for my dad. And Azrael shows up. He's the angel of death, and he says, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And he says, oh, well, I'm not here for you, I'm here for your dad. And so I'm like, what is up? And she starts heading towards my dad. I'm like, oh, hell no. So I intercept him, and I start steering him away from this woman, and he kind of wanted to give her like our last $40 that he had for groceries for getting us home. And back in the 70s, that was a lot of money. Not a whole lot, but a lot. And so my mom is just like, Bill, she was getting really upset because my dad's just like oogling this woman and wanting to help her. And I was like, Dad, you got to leave the people alone who are in the forest, and maybe we should just report this because she obviously needs some help. And he's like, okay. So he keeps wandering away, and actually she was going to, she had claws, and she was just gonna like claw out his insides and his gut, and I had a vision of him just crumpling on the ground and like dying within 3 minutes before anybody could get there. We were gobsmacked. So she starts wandering off, and I telepathically thought at her, what the heck? Who are you? What are you doing? What is that all about? So she said something like, oh, well, everybody used to worship me and they loved me, and then they left. Reset. And when they came back, she said they all hated me. She's like, so I hate them, and they all need to die. You know, at that point in my life, my teacher had told everybody that I was retarded. So all the kids and staff at my school were terrified of me, and they would spit and hit and kick and throw rocks. And I told her, you know, people are trying to kill me, but that doesn't, you know, two wrongs don't make a right. And you need to be better than that. You know, they can't decide who you are. They may say you're a monster, but you are you. And that's your choice. And then she said, well, they don't even have fun anymore. And I was like, are you kidding me? They totally have fun. You need to go. I'm like, maybe you should just go to a ball game, like a football game at a college, maybe for Indigenous, where they actually might have heard of you before. And, you know, go check it out. And I'm sure you'll have fun. So she kind of wanders off. And it's really funny because I forgot, like, so much that had happened to me. And then I started remembering the frequencies are getting higher. And I just, over the last few years, I started remembering. So then I got a small memory of Dear Woman, and I went to check it out. And apparently she went to Haskell College. I believe it's in Ohio. It's on the East Coast somewhere for Indigenous people. And she went to a football game, and she apparently went in the stands, and then she was sitting, and then either people started smelling how bad she was because she was really like garbage or something, or she started, like, they could see through the fake form to what a real form was, because, you know, she just started feeling really uncomfortable. So she runs up the stairs, and it's this huge drop because they're on bleachers, and she jumps off the back and she runs off, and then it makes it into the school papers, and they never see from her again. They're kind of like, well, what the hell? What was that all about? And I did write to one of the editors and said, hey, look, I had this incident with her, and you know what, maybe you guys could have, like, I don't know, Dear Woman Day at the college, and she might even, you know, like, be a protective spirit or something. I don't know. She might, but you know, I never got anything back from them, and that was probably about, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, and that's okay, no big deal. And what she looked like when she was her real self, when she wasn't projecting this image of this beautiful, like, young, vulnerable maiden, she kind of had a hump, and she was dressed in these rags, and she was kind of like grayish black, which I think is just because we're in the red color spectrum. We don't see a lot of other colors that are particularly in the, like, ultraviolet spectrum. So she had like almost a deer face, but it was kind of squished back. She had this little black button nose, and like the 4 points that came up, and then she had little black eyes, and she had a deer horns, but they look like reindeer horns, you know, like a dragon would have. And she had kind of like, you know, clawed hands and whatnot. Yeah, I got clawed hands too now. Nice. Arthritis. And she had these skinny little legs. I think she looked like she was part Chinese dragon. I think she was more of a, or maybe a Mishipishu, because they look a lot like the Chinese dragons too, and they have the copper blood. But the most interesting thing about that was, again, you know, does that point to another reset of our species that happened, the mud flood with Tartaria and all those giants helping us? And I guess to answer those questions, you gotta watch the next video. Cheers, we'll see you later. Have a blessed day.